Okay, hi YouTube. I'm going to do this video on a few things that I learned about putting in these new stainless steel injector cups in my 7.3 liter powerstroke diesel. And I'm going to grab one here and show you, hopefully. Okay, first of all, I bought these. This is the last one I'm putting in, so I figured, okay, let me do a video on it. What I did, because I learned a few things. Quite frankly, I wish that I had seen this video before I got started on the project, but you can learn from me, I think. Okay, just the reason behind a stainless steel injector cup. You can go on eBay and you can get brass injector cups for cheap. I don't know, 20 bucks for a whole set, something like that. And they last about 100,000 miles. Ask me how I know that. That's as long as they last. Okay, what they do, my thumb there will show you, they crack right along here. And what's happened is there's high pressure diesel behind where my thumb is, and on the outside there's coolant. Okay, so they crack. Okay, now you can buy the good ones. You can buy Alliant if you want to spend some money, and it's not actually brass. If it's brass, it's like a real tough, hard brass, or it's copper or some alloy or something. They look like brass, but they're not. There's some really hard metal brass, and I suppose that works. In fact, I think that they are the OEM version. They're, you know, to my knowledge, stainless steel was never used by Ford, but for the record, they know about the problem. I mean, it's all over YouTube, people having this cracking problem along here with the brass ones. And so Cummins diesel went over to stainless steel, and I bought these at Riff Raff Diesel for about 150 bucks delivered. I mean, it was, you know, not that big of a deal, but to solve the problem, oh my God. What happens when they crack, the brass cracks, and that diesel gets into your coolant, what happens is just about every coolant seal is not at all compatible with diesel fuel. So if you've ever pulled off one of the oil coolers on these powerstrokes, 7.3s, that blue gasket with the metal and then the O-ring around the inside, that blue, I think, is silicone. But for the record, it melts, diesel melts it. So if you have one of these things crack, you're going to have diesel in there, and those gaskets are going to start to leak because it's being melted by your diesel. I spent easily a year chasing around coolant leaks in my my engine. I mean, they were using silicone on the quick disconnects on the back of the engine. You know how the coolant is routed around the back of the engine and there's quick disconnects in there? Well, they melted away and they leaked. Okay, so on and on and on I was finding leaks, and it was all because those brass injector cups leaked. So anyway, I've had mine out 2 or 3 times, and this time I found that Riff Raff had these stainless steel ones. Now, Riff Raff claims they're CNC'd from billet stainless steel. Is that true? I don't know. They're beautiful. I mean, you look at them and holy moly, you know. They also claim that they've reinforced the areas that crack, which is, you know, along here, and they reinforce it with stainless steel. I seriously doubt that thing's going to ever give it up. All right, so I'll try to be quick here. A few things that I learned in doing this project. Where do I start? Okay, getting them out of there. Okay, these things I bought on eBay. Okay. It was cheap. You put this into the end of that thing, goop it up with grease. I use red Mobil 1 fully synthetic grease. Stick it down into that, and then that's what you drive it into the hole. All right, so that's what that's all about. And I'll show you a few things about this further. This thing was a learning curve because, yeah, I bought that on eBay, and yeah, it was cheap, but I had the Alliant, you know, copper ones or hard brass, okay? And I was turning and turning and turning and couldn't get the thing to grab. I know it will grab on brass, but I had to make it grab on that hard copper stuff, the OEM stuff. So I took my sander and I sanded off this portion all the way around, and then stuck it down into the injector cup, gave it a few whacks with the hammer, and then it would grab, and I was able to, to begin to spin it. The second thing was, the thing wasn't really designed correctly. You use that collar when you put that down into the sleeve, okay, and you don't have this on here, okay, so you whack it with this, and then you torque the tap down into the brass thing. I had to actually fashion a little piece of pipe right here, because this nut was bearing all the way down there and it wasn't pulling that out. I mean, I needed that extra to pull the thing all the way out. So all I did was put a piece of pipe on there, caught some threads up here, and it worked perfectly. It just pulled it right out. So anyway, that was a learning curve, but I got it right. The other thing is, before you even do this, you have to pull out your injectors. And I'm not sure where I bought this. Probably Harbor Freight, but I really don't know where I got it. But it's a pry bar, and what I did is I taped it up so it wouldn't screw up the surfaces of my head. And you can see I had to cut it off. It was much longer, but then you can get in there into the tight spaces and pop them out without screwing stuff up. So that did work. I mean, they'll tell you to put pry bars in there and this and that. Well, there's certain spots where you can't get a pry bar in. All right, now then, okay, you pull out your injector cups. Now, this was a learning curve also. Another thing is, you look down the hole and you see a bunch of old, Loctite in the hole. You got to get it out of there. I mean, it's got to be metal to metal, and it won't be, okay? There's going to be a bunch of crap down in there, and it's going to screw you up. If you can't get this thing all the way down the hole, you're going to have problems. Something's going to happen. It's going to leak. Something's going to happen. I mean, it's got to really be seated in there. All right, so this became a little invention of mine. All right, what this is, I got this at Home Depot. It's a stainless steel 3/4 inch brush. It cost about $15, but it came with 3 or 4 other brushes also. But it was the only place I could find a 3/4 inch brush like that. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's just a thing. Now, I already had this, okay, and it was real long. All right, so I had to take my die grinder and cut it off and fashion this thing in here, because what it does, you can see it, is it has a set screw there which holds that thing, and then all you do is you stick it down the hole, and this Makita angle drill motor was super helpful, because there are areas in that engine you can't get to, okay? And so you work it in there, and then you work it down, and then I work the edge of it around the edge of the hole, because you have to not only get the bottom of the hole clean for this, but you have to get this area clean in the hole also. And so I was just working it around the edge. I'd go in there with my angle mirror and look at it, and sure as heck there'd still be some in there, okay? So I had to work it for quite a while to get it clean. Then what I did was, I took this thing, it doesn't really show what I had, I put a paper towel on the end of it. I'll show you what I use this for. And a paper towel, gooped it up with lacquer thinner, stuck it down the hole, and then started twisting it around, because you got to get it cleaner. The Loctite won't stick, okay? Now, I've had experience with various Loctites, and this is what I've come up with, which seems to work the best, this stuff. Now, I have not had good luck with Loctite. I've had it not actually harden. This is Permatex high temperature thread locker red, and the number on it, let me read it, is $272.40. This costs about 25 bucks on Amazon. Okay, I have had good luck with this in various other applications too, but on this application specifically, it has worked good. Okay, so, and you'll use quite a lot of it too, believe it or not. Now, the reason I have this, so let's say you first clean out the hole with this, and I mean clean the shit out of it. You got to get that thing down to bare metal. Get all that Loctite out of there. 3/4 inch extender angle drill, just work it and work it and work until it's gone. All right, then go down the hole with a rag or whatever in this thing, and lacquer thinner is what I use, and I clean all the, grease or residual or coolant or whatever's in there. I clean it out, twist it around, get it all real clean. Okay, now what I did was I took this thing and grabbed that cotton ball there, which is what that is, and gooped it up with this red thread locker. Get it down in the hole, goop around the edge. You gotta get the stuff on there before you put that thing in. All right, so now moving on to this, clean this thing up with lacquer thinner on the outside. What you do is you put the thread locker along that flat right there. Now you've already gooped down the hole with that cotton ball, so the surface is already gooped, and down in the slot, that bottom slot, this place here. But what you do is use a lot of this stuff, and I use a Q-tip, and I goop it to the point where I can't even see the metal. But you go on that 45 there, that flat, this flat, goop all that up, and then goop this flat up all the way around. Okay, and then, all right, you put it on there. Now, I think I already mentioned this, but I use red synthetic Mobil 1 grease, and I grease that thing up before I stick it inside of this. And the only reasoning behind that is it holds it on there so it doesn't fall off. It doesn't hurt anything. It's red synthetic grease. Okay, now we're getting to the part that's the most important. You guys are probably fully capable of everything I just talked about. This was, let's just say I'm proud of myself. This worked really good. All right. There are places in the back of your engine. Now, if your engine is out or you're at a shop, like a machine shop, you're not going to have any problems. You put a hammer on this and you beat these suckers all the way in. No problem. Okay? You got them all gooped up with red Loctite, you got them all cleaned out, got them all everything. And then you just beat them in with a hammer. There are places on the back of the powerstroke, if you're doing this with your engine in the car, you cannot swing a hammer. There's no way. In other words, the air conditioner's in the way. There's like very, tight tolerances. You can't do it. All right. This take special note of. All right. This thing is a palm nailer, which I bought at Harbor Freight. Okay. Palm nailer. Okay. And it runs on, shop air. I've got a 5 horsepower portable air compressor, which I use with it, but it runs on like 100 psi, the regular stuff. All right. Now, the problem with this, and this tool was able to get those things in. You will not be able to get those in otherwise. Trust me on this. You can't swing a hammer. There's no way to get the, the force. You got to realize, it's one thing if you're beating in a brass cup, because it's more or less pliable. Even copper, it'll get down into the hole, and the way metal is malleable, it'll make its way in there and you'll be okay. Not so with stainless steel. Stainless steel doesn't budge. So you're stuck, and you're stuck like that much too high. Whatever that is, an 1/8 inch, 3/16 too high, and you will have problems. You'll put the thing together and go, let's see if it works. No, it ain't gonna work good. You're probably gonna have problems. You want that thing all the way down the hole. So In comes this. I had to think this one through quite a bit to figure out what in the hell to do. Because I looked at it, and I knew I was going to have a problem. And it was a problem. But what I did, this thing is, like I said, a palm nailer. The nail, if you're a carpenter, goes down. This is a 3/8 bolt. That's all it is, okay? And the hammer is actually down this sleeve right here. So you can see how it works. Got a spring, there's a hammer down there, and you'd put the nail down that hole, and then you'd, build your house. Okay, well, I needed something that would have that kind of hammering. So what I did, this is a 3/8 bolt that I took my die grinder and I cut off, let's say about that length, maybe there to there. And so it's sticking out a little bit, obviously. But it worked, okay? And what you do, you're beating on the end of that thing right there with the injector cup on the end down the hole. And wear gloves when you do this, because this thing is a beast. I mean, if you've got a lot of air, and I've got 5 horse, so I've got a lot of air. I put my hands on there, and my hands aren't that dainty, for Christ's sake, but I put 2 hands on the thing, and it just beat the shit out of my hands. Okay, next thing I did, well, after several injuries, I put gloves on. All right, big deal. All right, do it with gloves and protect your hearing, because you're getting a bam, 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 bam out of that thing, just like crazy. It's a beast, but it does work. You can get it into the weird slot back there, which is at an angle. Let's say your air conditioner is right here, and you bear as best you can. I mean, you're going to be up on top of your engine with your whole body, and you're going to be pressing on that thing. Just your hands go numb and everything. It's just crazy. However, I mean, thousands and thousands of little beats, it shoves that thing all the way down to the bottom. Now, what I had done, another innovation for what it's worth, is I took this popsicle stick and I had beat one of these things in with a hammer because I could get to it. And I mean beat and was confident I had it all the way down. Okay? And I did. Anyway, so what I did is I went down the hole and then I marked with a marker right across the top against the head. And I could see, all right, I've got to get the other ones at least to that level. The tolerances in these heads is pretty close. And on those things, they're close tolerances. So, I marked across there, and then you can kind of detent over and you can see, oh yeah, okay. And I swear to you, I beat the shit out of my hands pounding on this thing for, I don't know, maybe a minute. And then I would check it with this, and shit, it's still 1/8 of an inch high. I mean, it wasn't right. So anyway, I just got, determined and went at it again and just kept going at it. I mean, it was just beastly, $25. This thing is amazing, okay? With a lousy 3/8 bolt. And just so you can see, now I've only put 7 of these in. The 8th one is coming later today. But look at that bolt. Look what it did to the head of that bolt. It mushroomed that thing, okay? I mean, it was just some bolt I cut off. But still, you can see that the amount of work that thing had to do, pounding on that thing to get those in, is no small accomplishment. And my God, I beat the hell out of that bolt. So, anyway, Harbor Freight, eBay, I don't know, maybe Home Depot, maybe Harbor Freight, I don't remember. Harbor Freight, Amazon, this thing, Home Depot. I don't know where you get these things, but I know they sell them on eBay. I had that around. Obviously, it's rusty, it's old. And you're going to have to get an angle drill. There's no way you're going to get in there with a regular drill motor. No way. You're going to have to get an angle drill to do this. And, that'll be up to you. I had that drill around. And that thing, you've got to be able to look in there. You got to take a flashlight and look in there. And you'll go and go and go and go and go with this thing. And you realize, shit, there's still some Loctite down there. And then you go and go and go, and you got to look with that, you know, and a flashlight. And anyway, I hope this is helpful. I realize it's sort of a redneck video and very amateur, but I've done a bunch of these, and this is probably going to be very helpful to you. Anyway, for the record, it's what worked for me. And you guys have helped me out so much over the years. You know, some guy doing it in his backyard in the dirt kept me out of trouble in a lot of ways. So I'm doing this to give back. So good luck. And my advice, take your time, spend a few days doing it, but replace those miserable brass ones, or you will have one heck of a lot of problems. And hopefully Riff Raff keeps selling those things. So I hope this helps. Take care. Bye.